4 spec books that are kind of flying under the radar, which means it might be a really good time to pick them up. Stay tuned.
Comically correct comics.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Comically Correct Comics. I'm your host, Comic Guy Bry. Happy New Year to everyone out there in the comic book community. I hope you had a fantastic Christmas and New Year's. Me and my family started a cool new tradition. We went to the nursery and actually bought an actual tree, not a Christmas tree, but like a potted tree from the nursery as our Christmas tree. It's called an arborvitae was the name of the tree. Kind of like one of those trees that they kind of use as like privacy fences. Sometimes you'll see. Anyways, we bought one and put it inside the house in the pot and decorated it with the lights and the Christmas tree and everything. And then today, on New Year's Day, we actually went out and planted it in the yard. And so it's just kind of a cool new little tradition, and we're going to get solar lights and decorate it out in the yard, and we plan on doing that over the years, and eventually we'll have a cool little line of Christmas trees with history. So anyways, I'm curious, you guys, leave a note down in the comments. What are some traditions that you do around the holidays? I'm just curious to know what other people do out there. Anyways, in this video, we have some spec books that I think are flying under the radar, and it might be a really good time to pick some of them up, and we're just going to jump right in. At the top of the list, number 1, we have Black number 1 from Black Mass Studios. Now, this is a 6-part series from Black Mass Studios about it, and it explores a world where only black people have superpowers. It's got a bunch of first appearances. It's got the first appearance of Kareem Jenkins, who is the main character in the story, and he is a young black kid who discovers that he has exceptional superpowers. And it's just a super interesting take on the superhero genre, and it is hyper relevant to the current political and social climate and everything that's going on right now, which is why it made it to the top of this list for me and why I'm specking on it so hard. News about this series actually came out in October of 2020 when Warner Brothers picked up the series and acquired it from, I believe it was Studio 8. And that sparked a bunch of new interest in the series, because why would Warner Brothers pick it up if they didn't intend to do something with it? That, coupled with the fact that it is so hyper relevant, and it is a really cool, unique, interesting read, really well done series, it gives me a ton of confidence that this book is actually going to make it to the screen. And so back in 2020, it saw a nice little bump in prices. A CGC 9.8 was going for around $200, and since then it's totally dipped off. I actually just saw a no limit auction end on eBay for like $60, and I don't think that that's a reflection of the value of this book. I think it's a reflection of a couple things. One, just eBay auctions in general. eBay auctions ending during the day, unless it is a super hot series, super hot title where everyone is searching for it, you just don't want to send stuff to auction on eBay. Another thing that this book doesn't have going for it, and which is actually a benefit to you, is the searchability of the book. When you type in Black number 1, you get a bunch of King in Black stuff. You get Silver Surfer Black, a bunch of different titles that have the word black in it. And you also get black masks. You get freaking face masks and that pop up on eBay and things like that. So the searchability, the SEO factors with this book is low, which is why I think it doesn't do well at auction. That benefits you, however, because there are several books right now at auction on eBay, some CGC 9.8s of this book, and it's taken a dip in general. The CGC 9.8s of cover air, I would say, no more than 150 currently. But if news breaks about this show actually being in production, or we see a trailer about the show, or the show actually comes out and it's well done, I expect this book to easily clear $300 range. It's also really hard to find this book in high grade because it has a mostly white cover and it has a bright orange back cover, and it's super, super cheap ink. And so you get color rub. You just get that back cover stacked on top of the top, rubbing and shipping, and you get color rub on the front. And so be really careful if you're buying a raw copy, because the cover design of the front cover, and I'll show it here, has like red splotching in it as part of the design. But the back cover sometimes rubs off on the front as orange splotching, and it's really hard to differentiate the color rub from the actual design of the book. Here I'll put up a picture of the color rub. It's usually along the spine or the other edge of the comic. So be really careful when you're buying this book raw. And for that reason, I actually would just recommend just buying it slabbed so you know what you're going to get. Otherwise, you're probably going to have to buy multiple copies in near mint to try to get one that's 9.8 candidate and send it in. By the time you do all that, you might as well just buy a slabbed copy. That said, it's also really hard to find this series. One, for the searchability of the title, and two, because it's low print run. It's an independent book, low print run, and it's just hard to find in general. So there are some additional covers. There's a 1 in 5 cover, which I would steer away from. I'm just not a huge fan of this cover. It doesn't do anything for me, and it doesn't really perform as well as cover A. There's also an exclusive cover, which is actually even harder to find, go figure. Might be a little bit easier to find in high grade, and it fetches a higher premium as well. There's also a second printing, which I'll put up here, which definitely goes for about twice as much as the cover A. Again, super hard to find. So number 2 on the list, we have Black number 4. And I'll put a picture up here of Black number 4. It's the same series from Black Mass Studios, and this cover is just insane. It's a Donkey Kong parody homage type cover, and it's incredible. It's got Donald Trump at the top. It's got a KKK member. It's got a racist cop. It's got a Supreme Justice, and they're all playing Donkey Kong. This cover is just crazy. It's just a crazy cover, and for that reason, it's done really well. Also, really hard to find in high grade, so be careful when buying raw copies. But I would say if you can find a near mint copy, like if you can find a 9.8 candidate, I would probably pay $20 to $30 for it. The problem is just being able to know what you're going to get and finding a good high grade copy. So issues 2 and 5 from the Black series are also hot covers, but I would say the top 2 in this series to go for are just issue 1 and issue 4, as discussed in this video. All right, so next up on the list at number 3, we have Mighty Avengers number 1. And again, this made the list because it's kind of flying under the radar. You can find it for pretty close, if not at cover price. So this book has a lot going for it. It's the first team appearance of the Mighty Avengers, which is Luke Cage, Spider-Hero, Spider-Man, who's actually Octavius, and Spectrum. And it's also the first appearance of Blade as Spider-Hero, and Monica Rambeau becomes Spectrum, okay? And that's what the spec is on this book, is Monica Rambeau as Spectrum. So Monica Rambeau made her appearance in the MCU as the 11-year-old girl who is the daughter of Maria Rambeau in Captain Marvel. And so the big spec is, how is Monica Rambeau going to continue her role in the MCU? Is it going to be as Captain Marvel? Don't think anyone's really specking on that, because she made her first appearance as I believe it was the second Captain Marvel in Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16. And she also was previously Photon, which she became Photon in Avengers Unplugged number 5. And so the big question is, how is she going to continue her role in the MCU? Is it going to be as Photon, Miss Marvel, or Spectrum. There was also spec about her making her debut as Spectrum because there was an action figure that was released with her in a black and white costume like Spectrum, but that spec actually just totally goes out the window because all of her costumes across all three different characters, Miss Marvel, Photon, and Spectrum, were all very, very similar in black and white. So I think that was a bad spec. It didn't lend any credence to her becoming Spectrum. However, Mighty Avengers #1 is the cheapest of those three books of Monica Rambeau keys. And so why not hedge your bets and just pick up a few copies? So there's several different covers for this book, a bunch of incentive covers. And I would say just stick to whatever cover actually has Spectrum on the cover. So there's the regular cover A, there's the Deadpool party cover, which is actually my favorite of the bunch. There's a 1 in 25 color Lego variant. There's a 1 in 50 Brian Hitchinson variant. And there's a 1 in 100 sketch Lego variant. And there's a 1 in 200 Deadpool party sketch cover. And so I would stick to the cover A, the Deadpool party cover, the Deadpool party sketch cover, or the 1 in 50 Brian Hitchinson cover, because those all have Spectrum on it. All right, next up on the list, we have Invincible Iron Man #1. Now, this is volume 3, #1 from 2016. There's a bunch of different Invincible Iron Man #1s, but we're talking about Invincible Iron Man #1, volume 3 from 2016. This is the first cover appearance of Riri Williams in costume, okay? And her first actual appearance in general as Riri Williams was actually a three-way tie between three different books that came out on the same day. It was Invincible Iron Man #7, the third print, and that had just her little head in the corner. But also on that same day were two other books that had her appear with her little head in the corner. Invincible Iron Man #9, the second print, and Invincible Iron Man #11, the second print. All three of those books had the same little circle picture with her face on it. So all three of those were the first cover appearance of Riri Williams in general. What we're talking about here is the first cover appearance of Riri Williams as Ironheart in costume. And that's Invincible Iron Man Volume 3, #1. And in particular, on my list is the Midtown Comics exclusive, because I think this is the one that people are sleeping on the most. The cover A and the cover A second print are both super popular, and I think people are kind of sleeping on the Midtown Comics exclusive, and you can get it for a little bit less, still around $20 for that cover appearance. And I fully expect that this book will see a little bit of a bump, if not a significant bump, when some trailers are actually released for the new Ironheart series, and just as this character continues to grow in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You can pick up a CGC 9.8 copy of the Midtown Comics exclusive for around $100, which I think would be a great deal for this key. Now, I also want to mention that Ironheart gets new armor in Invincible Iron Man Volume 3, #3. She gets a new Ironheart armor, and she gets new armor again in Champions #22, and that debut is on the cover of Champions #22. So, but on this list, it's Invincible Iron Man #1, the Midtown Comics exclusive. So there you have it, guys. 4 quick little spec books that I think are kind of flying under the radar. Might be a good time to get in on all of these books. As always, thank you so much for stopping by. If you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so. Smash a like on this video on the way out if you enjoyed it. And we will see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Comically correct comic.